come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Give praises to Jehovah, from whom all blessing and knowledge will flow. Blessing and knowledge will flow. The Village Talk Show, dedicating to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life, helping each one of us in realizing our dream at any age, any point, starting from today, day. Success. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Success is not spoken, it is done. Success is done. Come on now. The Village Talk Show. Talk Show. The Village Talk Show.
One, two. The Village Talk Show. Villagers! First of all, I want to say good evening and thank you for tuning in to the Village Talk Show. We have a special guest in the studio tonight. No, this is not a mirage. This is Dr. Joanne Bryant, aka Juju, in the house. She's sitting in for Mr. Daly, and she looks a lot better than Mr. Daly, y'all. So, Dr. Bryant, welcome to the Village Talk Show.
Good evening.
In studio.
Hello, listeners. How are you this evening? It is great to be here on this wonderful Thursday.
This hot-ass Thursday.
You're right about that. Enjoying the day with you all this evening with you all, and excited to get right into business. Hopefully our co-host will be joining us wherever he is around the world.
And he is around the world, he is around the world, enjoying his life while we are suffering in this sweltering. He's coming on?
Look like it.
In this sweltering heat. So, let's try to do what we can until he comes on. Dr. Bryant, how are you? How you been, doctor?
Surviving the heat. Slowly but surely. It has been hot. I would love to be on a wonderful beach right now, but unfortunately the sharks are coming out. I want no part of that at all.
For me, no beach. You see all the villages, you see what's going on here in New York? All these shark attacks. Ever since the movie Jaws, I've never been back to the beach. And that's been almost 40 years ago. I've never been back to the beach. But now, shark attack here, shark attack there. Who wants to go to the beach these days? But, especially now with the weather being what it is, you do want some sort of recreation. You do want to go to the beach, but you have to be so cautious now because of all these shark sightings and people that have been bitten by these sharks. You have to be cautious in what you do there.
Well, welcome.
Welcome, Mr. Daly.
Yeah, welcome from the beautiful state of Oregon. I can't say that.
What the heck? Right? He's in Oregon, villagers.
Right. I'm at, listen, Jamaica's performing out here in track and field. America's performing in track and field. And my wife is an avid track and field person. So I've come out here to represent, right? See the colors right there? So,
Yeah, I check it out. Good evening, Sophia. Oh,
So,
you know what? I have to commend you. You must be an awesome husband traveling the world with your wife.
oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
my wife sure as hell don't think so. You know? And welcome, villagers. How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining us on the Village Radio Talk Show right here, live from Oregon. Eugene, Oregon, actually, is where I am, to be more specific, which is 2 hours from Portland, for the Portland Trailblazers. And so there's 2 hours difference, from 2 hour drive-in difference. And so I'm a few hours from California, if you want to try to figure out where in the world I am. So thank you. The Village Radio Shows is about, we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any point starting from today. So join us on YouTube, Facebook, on TuneIn, anywhere you can reach us, So that's great. So John, how you doing?
Staying away from the beach. That's what I'm doing, brother. Staying away
Yeah,
from the beach.
Yeah, man, the 7-foot shark. I couldn't believe that 7-foot shark dead. And how the heck did they get him to wash back into sea? I don't understand.
What about the one that jumped out of in Far Rockaway yesterday? That jumped right out and said, "Hello, everyone." So no. That's why I don't mess with the water over here. I'll go to Bermuda.
Yeah,
I'll go everywhere else, but not here.
Joanne, you make me laugh all the time. You know, right? You know what
Why?
I'm about to say?
What's your?
You're like the fear mongering queen.
I am not.
You're the fear mongering queen.
I am. You know what?
Yeah, right. But you know what? You're the fear monger. I'm not going on the subway because it's so violent. I'm not sending my children to school in Trinidad because I'm scared for them to be on their own. I'm not going to the beach in New York City because they saw a shark. So therefore,
Well, first of all, it's dirty. That's first of all.
Mm.
It's
again, let's
dirty.
say it one more time: the fear mongering queen.
I am not.
Okay, all right. So
I
every
am
time, so every time you fear monger, can I go fear mongerer and you won't be upset? In little as usual.
My name is Joanne. Let me make it clear to you, Joanne. Okay?
Okay,
Joanne.
Joanne. So every time I go fear mongering, okay, Joanne, right? Joanne, right?
So
How does that work?
getting back to the topics,
Yes.
what's going on here in our communities. Well wishes go out to the president. He has COVID,
Mhm.
and the villagers. This pandemic is not over. It seems that there's so many different strands that come out. So it's important, even those who have been vaccinated, double boosted, still are contracting COVID, but the impact is not as harsh as it would be if you were not vaccinated. So continue to practice, wearing your mask, sanitizing areas, because I see people are very lackadaisical when it comes to practicing preventive measures. We still see the big crowd and people, but at the same time, you have to be cautious in moving around because this subvariant seems very contagious.
Also while we're talking about contagiousness, we're talking about the monkeypox. And I wanted to address a couple of things.
You mean monkeypox?
Yes, the monkeypox. Yeah. So I wanted to address a couple of things with that. One is the cases in New York City, apparently those numbers are going up. But I wanted to address a couple of things that I hear people talking about when they look at the monkeypox and label it as a homosexual disease. And I want to make sure that we address that back in the days, in the late 80s, early 90s, people looked at AIDS as a homosexual disease. And then they found out that everybody was getting it. And so
What they-
it wasn't just about,
That's true.
But
it wasn't just, it wasn't,
not everybody getting it, but it seems monkeypox is more prevalent in that community.
But they also
yes, but
mentioned that
it was that like that with AIDS.
context, right? You know what is a stigma that you put on people automatically when you say, "Oh, you know," it starts. It's a form of bias. I understand it's a, something that you can catch, but don't categorize it as just
But
these
hold
folks.
on. You're not categorizing it as these folks. If you look at the facts and the statistics, what
But-
does it show? I'm
But
just
it
saying.
also went back and
All right.
stated that you can easily get it by skin to skin contact. So anyone could get it. Don't just
But you're
assume
saying anyone can get it, but the number of people who are getting it are who?
adults.
Yes, I agree
And
with you,
all
John.
children
But
can get it too.
everybody can get it.
Pull up
But
the statistics about the people who are being impacted by this monkey virus, so we can break it down for our villagers, so I can just broaden the horizon of my co-host here.
But you know something that they also mentioned,
Good luck.
that polio is back.
Yes, I saw that.
right.
So there's all types of diseases.
But you know, I just don't want the lack of
knowledge.
knowledge and safety. Yes, I know it's more prevalent in a certain community, right?
That's
It's
all.
more
That's all I'm
prevalent in
saying.
a certain community, right?
But
And so we just want to make sure that people understand that it's from both sides. That it's not just
It's
it's
not
not just
exclusive to that
people in the gay community,
That's
right?
the key.
Exactly. And sometimes,
that's the key.
and what
Let
happens
me
here,
finish out
you
of
know,
it.
first and foremost, right, John. First and foremost, we know that nowadays, like what we call them back in the early 2000s, the guys that go with the woman undercover. What they call them? You know, those guys that look at women and date men and hide it behind the scene. What do you call them? I don't remember what the term is for that. But you have those that happen, right? And so they're gonna bring it home, right? And then you have a straight woman, and that happens a lot as well. So that can happen too. So people have to be careful.
Well, we just
and
want
not
people
just
to be
thinking that you're safe out there.
We just want people to be careful, practice good hygiene,
Exactly.
and if you choose to engage into sexual relations with the same sex, just make sure you practice safe sex. That's all we're saying.
Exactly. Before we even move on, John, you and I, in the political world last week, we lost a stalwart in terms of political impetus here in in New York City, and I know that his work and his contribution to the political scheme and to society was great, and that is the late Al Van,
So, Roger,
who left us.
I just want to stand corrected. You didn't only mean you and I, because Dr. Brian too was impacted by the works of our
No, but I'm saying, okay, when I said that, I meant like you and I more into politics.
Al
Yes.
Van. But so I want to make sure that's clear, because he impacted all of us. He was what I call Al Van a true statesman. He was about empowering the community, empowering Black and brown people to make sure that what they are due, they receive, and receive more of it.
Right, and you know, that's important that people, you know, take a moment and just letting people know that, you know, losing somebody like him and the work that he represented and the impact that he made in our community, especially where he's local Bed-Stuy, where he represented for where he represented for a number of years.
Him and Assemblyman Boyle and also Assemblyman Clarence Normans, they really transformed Central Brooklyn.
And so we just take a moment, hats off to him.
You ain't got no hat on, brother, so you can't take it off.
Yeah, well, the what do you call it? The proverbial hat. Right.
And also, our condolences also go out to Miss Ivana Trump, who passed away, the first wife of the former President Donald Trump. You know what's very interesting, as we get older, as our parents get older, it's very important that they be in a home. You have to be very careful with stairs and stuff like that, because this is the second person I found out, certain person I've known, that has died because they tripped and fell downstairs. So we have to be mindful of our seniors, and that they are mindful of when there's steps and things like that they pay close attention. That's why when we get old, I want to live on the first floor. I don't want to live on the second floor.
I get it.
So, Dr. Brian, thoughts, issues that are concerning to you?
You know what's concerning to me? Yesterday, listening to what happened on Rutland Road, and I think it was 98th Street. No regards, 11:30, 11:45, 10 something, broad daylight. Having three guys stand up and get shot right in front of the pizzeria. No regards about people standing at the bus stop or anything at all. That is troubling to me. That is very troubling. I was speaking to my sister last night. She was saying that my former pastor, was standing there at the bus stop and had to run for cover. So no respect for people's life. You just want to go and attack whoever you want to. Children could be walking by. So the ignorance with that, the lack of respect for anyone's lives. While the mayor's having all the mayors from different places come and talk about violence and gun violence, and here we are acting a fool in New York City constantly. We are infamous for that. So I am just so disgusted with the ongoing violence that's going on with the guns.
John, before you say anything more about that, let's add in the 4 shootings over there at Rockaway Parkway and Livonia, as well, as Joanne is bringing that up with the gun violence that's happening, that's affecting America and our community as well. So just throw that in there while you're talking as well.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, commend the mayor for getting the other mayors together to create a database where they can track the origination of these guns, and hopefully setting the stage for suing these manufacturers, like we did with the big tobacco manufacturers back a decade or so ago, that led to a tremendous settlement, because they know what these firearms are doing. They know that they are skirting the laws, and the bottom line is that it's profit over public safety, and that's what it's about. And you know what? We, as a people, villagers, our people, our Black and brown people, continue to engage in the annihilation of us.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, our brothers and sisters, our Black and brown people, continue to engage in the annihilation of us. And you know what? There is no reason. Up in Harlem, a 14-year-old kid along with a 15-year-old kid, the 14-year-old kid's family father moved him to New Jersey, moved him out of this chaos. He's back in town he winds up shot in the head, dead. The 50-year-old shot in the leg. For what? You know, for
On the ear. I'm on the ear.
what? For what?
Look at
Yeah,
Roger.
yeah, you guys, John, you know Bobby? That's Bobby from Footprints.
Hey, what's up, Bobby?
John Sampson.
What's up, Bobby? I see you out there. Were you out there scouting the footprints out in Oregon now too? Huh? I see you got one of the
Yeah,
best
John.
right now.
Yeah, so just shooting a hello, so you see where I am. Oh, let me show you around, by the way. Look, I don't know if I can switch camera. Yeah. I can't hear you. Say it again. Hold on, my headset needs to connect. Hold on.
And you know what's interesting, Roger, is out there with Bobby from Footprints, and I remember when Bobby started out, one establishment to another establishment, and he has created economic development. He has contributed tons to our community, tons to the village. Footprints has been very supportive of the village and what goes on. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about. Those entrepreneurs in our community that continue to assist the village, our people in our community to strive through. But at the same time, we have to be cognizant of the violence that happens in our community, and we must do better, Dr. Bryant. We have to do better. You can pour money in education. You can pour money into after-school programs. You can pour money into creating ball fields. But at the same time, you cannot pour money in teaching what is the morals and the values that a person and the respect a person needs to have for his fellow human being. And that's what it boils down to. The lack of respect that we have for one another, the lack of respect we have for life.
Right.
And that's why it's so important that we actually become a village once again, where we begin to police or we begin to regulate and enforce within our own community, so we don't have to worry about others coming in our community who have to enforce the laws. We need to be able to enforce them ourselves. So that's what we have to get back to, the true actual meaning of what a village is. What it talks about a village, it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a child to raise the consciousness of that village, so that village understands that the role it plays in educating those villagers in the community. What do you think?
That to me is, John, I don't think there's anything more to add to that, right?
Oh, I don't believe it. You ain't gonna add nothing.
No.
I don't believe it.
No, there's nothing to add. I mean,
I have a drink to
said,
that, man.
Right? It's well said. This is what we need to do. We need to protect our own. That's it. So as we go out and celebrate life, we also have to think about, we have to think about the fact that sometimes we just can't move around the street. I mean, I had, as my new post with the community board, right? I'm getting a lot of calls, right? I'm getting a call last week. There was a shooting on Newkirk on 26. Then we had the tragic situation and what Joanne brought up. But this is outrageous. While we try to build a village, right? While we try to build the village, a lot of people are doing tearing the village down.
Absolutely. And
Right.
to that, I want to add to what you just said. You see, you're out there celebrating your culture, your value, who you are. When we destroy and kill and eliminate half of our cultures, we won't have anything to celebrate. We won't have anyone else to actually say, hey, you know what? This is where we come from. This is what we're about. This is where we're going. So there's no foundation, because all you're going to have is a whole missing generation. And that's what we actually need to stop. And I'll say this, our guest coming up, she actually went back and researched her history, researched what it is that her makes what she is and who she is unique. So I cannot wait to bring in our guest for this evening and to share her story, her history, as Roderick is celebrating his history over there in where? Oregon? Okay, have fun.
Eugene, Oregon.
Right?
Here,
Don't be a hater. Don't be a hater. Don't be
we're
a hater.
not a hater. We're not a hater. We're not a hater. It's okay. It's okay. We have the beautiful Miss Tiffany Green Abdullah, um, who's able to join us this evening, and we're
Thank you.
excited to have you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Please, 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 please tell us about yourself. I'm excited. I'm
Okay.
excited. So please introduce yourself to our listeners so they can learn about your rich culture and history.
Okay. Well, great. Well, my name, like you said, is Tiffany Green Abdullah. I presently live in Atlanta, in the Atlanta metro area. I wrote a book called The Bean Pie, A Remembering, which is about my family's generational history related to the actual origin of the bean pie and
Mm,
how the bean pie was created. Um, but I'm a woman, striving to be better every day. I'm a mother, wife, sister, daughter. I'm a Muslim. So that's a big part of my life, my spirit, my spiritual, day to day life, and how I live my life, and everything, that's part of my life.
love that. Love that. I love the fact that you're taking us back to bean pies. I love bean pies.
Well,
Love bean pies. So one thing usually when I stop by, so please, 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 tell us what is the bean pie? What is bean pie?
So bean pie is a black delicacy. It's uniquely African American. It was created in the United States by my great great two greats Aunt Daisy, who's originally from Opelika, Alabama, and who moved to Detroit and then moved to Chicago. So it's a very simple dish in the sense that the ingredients are simple, but it's not simple in terms of the culture that's behind it and why it was created and how this bean pie made its way into the hearts of Dr. Joanna, the hearts of me, the hearts of many New Yorkers, the hearts of many people in Chicago, Oakland, all over New York, um, and across the world, but unfortunately, it's still hard to find one.
You're right.
But you know what? Mr. Abdullah, just getting into the cultural aspect
Mhm.
of it, and I think that's what's important. People need to know the origin and the meaning behind bean pies and the significant role it has played in developing culture and getting to this point.
Right. Exactly. I mean, when I started to do the research, I mean, I'd always grown up hearing that my great great aunt created the bean pie. I mean, that was like a known fact in my family. It didn't seem important to me as a youngster. It really wasn't until I moved to Atlanta and I converted to Islam that I started seeing people selling the bean pies. I started tasting them, and when my mother would visit me, I would bring her bean pies and be like, "Is this like on Daisy?" She'd be like, "Mm-mm, no, it's not." And then I started making them and getting them to a place where my mother was like, "Okay, this." If she could close her eyes and just kind of lean back and and just like put it in her mouth and like just really ingest it, she's like, this is like on Daisy's. And so that's the bean pies that I create, that I make, and I sell those alongside with my book because it's not just you reading the culture. I want you to taste the culture. And there's so much history in the bean pie. I mean, in my book, it wasn't just about on Daisy created the bean pie, we're done, book over. It's really the history within the Nation of Islam. It's the history of the Great Migration of African Americans out of the South due to, brutality and oppression, up north, and how we had to sort of remix. I mean, because that's what the bean pie is. It's a remix of a sweet potato pie, essentially, um, and it's a remix of culture, of having limitations put on you and needing to, find a way to make it work for you. And that's literally the story of Black America, right? Is always having to, find something and make something better and make something work for us. We do that in every aspect of life in every genre.
So, Mr. Abdullah, what led you to the conversion to Islam?
Mhm.
Okay, so we went there. Well, I sort of grew up around the Nation of Islam in Chicago. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, right on 71st and in what 71st and Kimbark, 70th and Kimbark, right near like a walking distance from Mosque Mariam. And so I was, participating in the nation as a teenager. And I was a teenager, so you do teenager things. And I sort of dabbled in that and got out. But it was always in me, being part, sort of not eating pork was always something that I didn't do. And just growing up hearing about my Aunt Daisy within the nation and how she was really, um, sort of like high up in terms of like, but she was one of the earliest members of the Nation of Islam because she was in Detroit in 1930 when Farrar Muhammad came to Detroit. And so that's how she kind of got connected in, was actually through Farrar Muhammad, Farrar Muhammad, I'm sorry. So, but I converted, I met my husband who was second generation Muslim, and right before I met him, when I first moved to Atlanta, I was going to all these churches, and I went to Vanderbilt University, so I'm friends with a lot of PKs or preacher kids, and they were inviting me out to churches, and it just wasn't kind of he's holding his hand up. It wasn't really connecting with me the way that I was looking for, that connection to my spiritual life. And I've been Christian my whole life. I mean, sing in a choir, still love gospel music, still rock on Sundays. Got to have my gospel music on Sundays. But when I met my husband, it was one of those like aha moments. And when I was like, Islam, like I'd always been, in love with Islam. I always thought the sisters were so beautiful in their scarves, their hijabs. But so then when I met my husband, he started taking me to all the different mosques in throughout Atlanta area. And has a huge Black Muslim community, and it's very progressive. So, and you can kind of find any kind of group that you want to be. If you want to be progressive, if you want to be more conservative, you can find that too. So, but when he took me to the Atlanta Masjid, I felt like I was home, and it was the Wharf Dean Muhammad community, um, in Atlanta, and so that's the mosque I go to every Friday. And it was just such a peace came over me when I was there, that I knew that Islam was, the way for me. We always say, no one makes Muslims; it's only Allah makes Muslims. And so, it just fit with me, and it fit with what I needed in my life, and it continues to help me grow and progress and mature, to this day at 46.
So I was just raising my hand, Stephanie, because I'm a PK myself, and so I was just raising my hand and said that you're looking at the people and going up and the bill. So I want to go back and talk about there's some couple of traditions within the Muslim religion. First of all, my first question to you is, and again, before I say anything else, I want to thank you for coming on to the Village Radio Talk Show and having the opportunity to meet with you. Our executive producer has spoken highly of you over the last few weeks until I said we have to get you on. So I just want to say thank you for finally getting the opportunity. Our schedules worked out to get you on the show. So I want to say thank you for that from the get-go. So I want to go back and ask the question. A lot of stuff that are ignorant to a Christian when it comes to Muslim religion. What is the difference between Islam and Muslim? Is there a difference? When do you use one word versus the other word?
I mean, Muslim just means one who submits to the will of God. And Islam is the name of the faith, the organized practice, right? Is Islam. And Muslim is just one who believes, one who submits to the will of God. That's all Muslim means. So there's like Muslim with a little m, which is that definition. And then there's Muslim with a capital M, which is somebody who participates, and this is my definition, somebody who really is participating in Islam, right? And who submits to the will of God.
All right. Thank you.
So you talk about the bean pie, you talk about the culture, you talk about Islam, and to me that ties in to what I look at the central theme of this whole thing is just the village, the community, and how can this assist us into getting back to what community actually means, meaning the uplifting, the caring, the respect that used to be. We did not need someone to provide law and order in our communities because we were the law, we were the order, and we understand that the respect, the moral aspect, moral values that we had. You know what I'm saying? So how can we bring that back with religion, with the being part, how can we just bring it all back together where you see what's going on? Your mayor in Atlanta was just up here with our mayor in New York City talking about this gun violence and creating this database with this state share. How can the discipline that exists in the Muslim faith, being how can that all? How can we capture all of that and just bring it to one central focus? That is the rejuvenation of the village.
Well, I think for me, the foundation of all of that is knowing yourself. Right. So, and it's a lot of why I wrote the book, right, was to remind, that's why I call it a remembering, right? Because it's not just remembering, like we think of remembering as our minds, like, oh, I forgot, then I remembered, right? But remembering is really bringing the members of the village together, right? To remember, to reassemble our village, right? And I did that in my book in terms of retelling and remembering and recalling the story and the lost knowledge, right? When you think about Sankofa, it's the same sort of concept. You have to look back to look forward. And if you don't know who you are, then you can't know where you're trying to go.
Oh, say that again. That is so true. So
right.
True.
Yeah. So, so I think we reestablish and revitalize the village, by telling those stories. Like even, thinking about how people used to stand up on the little, cubes on the little ice cubes or whatever you call them, that the milk used to come in, the crates, the milk crates, used to stand on those on the corners, right? And just, talk and have conversations and engage the people that they were walking by. We have to begin telling our stories, especially to our young people, because so much is being forgotten and is being replaced with stuff that's like not valuable at all to us.
Let me just jump in, like you just said, just reminding us of our culture, just reminding us of where we were. So, I'm ambivalent when it comes to, the last couple of years, taking down all of these statues of these,
racist individual.
But that was a part of the history. That was a part of our history to get us to the point where we are now. And like you said, sometimes you have to know your history in order for you to move forward and not make the mistakes
Of the past.
of the past.
Mhm.
But if every time we keep removing it, trying to forget about it, trying to forget about our past, it hinders us, to me, from understanding that we don't want to go back. In order for us to go back, we got to do something different. It's like you know the conclusion. You know what the conclusion is. Are you going
And
to allow
and I
it?
want to add to that, John. I want to add to that, John, by saying it's just like how a lot of people don't agree with the Muslim faith, right? They don't agree with the Muslim faith. They don't agree with anything that's happening, and it's turn around and remove from the historical purview what the Muslim nation or the Nation of Islam has done to improve the quality of life, right? And removing that as well. So it's how do you look at that and address both of them?
I actually won't say that a lot of people don't, because with the Muslim faith come history, brought us great leaders, but also actually help us to become united on one end. So it depends on who you're speaking to, will determine that comment. So I would say that you you know, um, bring together a rich background in regards to the bean pie,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
you're purchasing bean pie and you see some of the gentlemen selling the bean pie, but what's the history about it? So what's one thing? Food is always something that connects us to culture. So with the history of bean pies, can you elaborate a little bit more in regards to, is it you mentioned that instead of sweet potato pie they use what, um beans, but what type
Mhm.
do
It's
they?
navy beans.
Navy beans in order to make it. And
Mhm.
was it conversation? When you're creating a pie, are you having conversation? What ingredients are being used? What are the talks
Mhm.
during that time? Who's making the bean pies? Is it something that's passed down to, from one family to another? Do you change it up or whatever? And what, when the gentlemen, um, our gentlemen are selling it on the street, how does it contribute to the overall history?
Mhm.
So elaborate a
Mhm.
little bit more on that.
Right. Well, the history is really, really unknown. I mean, because before I wrote the book, I was sort of secret shopping those brothers and other people within my, my Muslim community, like, who created the bean pie, and nobody knew. And it was actually another brother friend of mine, Amir, who's a filmmaker and documentarian, and he interviewed me and my mother and my aunt, because he heard about my story, and then he was the one who was like, "Yo, nobody's ever," and they went all over the United States filming this documentary, and he's like, "Nobody ever has given us an origin story. Like nobody's got the gall to say they created the bean pie unless you like really did it,
Right.
because it's a lot of heat that can come with that. And so that's why I really use my like scholarly mind to like make sure that it was researched, and that it wasn't just one lineage story, that it was really multiple stories layered together. And like I said earlier, it's really a story of the Great Migration, and it's a story of you know post post enslavement, because the origins of like the bean and being able to use beans and cook beans came from Africa. That's really, if you look at like a lot of African dishes, like if you look at moi moi, which is like considered a Nigerian dish,
Mhm.
that is beans, mashed together with, you could use eggs, fish, you can do anything with them, and it's sort of like boiled in a banana leaf. So that way of cooking beans was something that my great great aunt learned from her grandmother and her great grandmother. So she had the conceptual knowledge of like how to use beans in different ways. And so when she was challenged by Elijah Muhammad, Minister Elijah Muhammad, to like cook in a certain way, she was very feisty lady. So and she had a sweet tooth. So she was like, I'm not gonna just make, watery bean soup. Like she figured out a way to make it palatable and simple because she also made this during the Great Depression. So it wasn't a lot of, you know, um, resources
Right.
out there, right? So it's very simple. It's beans, butter, spices, sugar, milk,
And the bean is navy bean, you said?
and navy beans.
Navy beans. Okay.
Navy beans is the smallest of the beans. A lot of times they look pink when you cook them, but they're delicious. So you
So
can.
is this a substitute for the sweet potato, or is just well,
Well, the navy bean was prescribed by Elijah Muhammad to be used in the diet of Muslims because of how healthy it was and the high amounts of protein and the low
uh,
amounts of fat.
okay?
So it was prescribed to use them, but it was really her invention of like, how am I going to make this taste good? And so it's really, I mean, and I can't say like with 100% she was looking at the sweet potato pie, but in my writing, that's how I connect the two because they are essentially, you take out potatoes, you put in beans. It's really the same recipe. Now you asked a question, Dr. Brian, about um, variations,
Hmm.
and I mean, so it's different. The Chicago bean pie is going to be different than New York, different than the San Fran, different than Oakland, different than
Ah,
Chicago.
so
You're
that
going
means I have to go on a tour on bean pie.
Hey, I'm all down for the bean pie tour, and I write. I've written a couple of times for the Muslim Journal about stories, covering people who have been historically associated with the bean pie. So I'm always asking people when I've been, at different events and fairs. I always ask people, have they had a bean pie and what's their experience? I either get never heard of it or I get some magical story of the first time they had a bean pie and they put it in their mouth and it was like heaven, opened up and all of that. So I've heard all of it, but it definitely varies family to family. The recipes are passed down.
Okay.
A lot of times, like I'll hear about somebody's mother or somebody's grandmother who was in Muslim girl training in the 50s and 60s, and she learned how to make the bean pie, from the original sort
Bean.
of first generation, like my aunt, those sisters in the 30s, 40s, 50s, who were really the foundation of the nation.
Have you made a bean pie yet?
Oh yeah, I sell them.
Okay, 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 okay.
Oh yeah, I make them all the time,
Okay.
and
Someone had asked if it was pinto beans and
no,
is navy beans.
it's
Okay.
navy beans. I mean, I'm sure it could taste okay. I've never tried any other beans but the navy beans in my bean pie.
Okay, okay, okay. So, what was it like? How long did it take you to actually write the book? And the
Um,
title of your book, because
okay.
to mention that.
Yeah, so the title of my book is The Bean Pie, A Remembering of Our Family's Faith, Fortitude, and Forgiveness. And it took me like 2 years, like really, like when I like for real writing the book was 2 years because I started in a book writing course at the top of 2020. Then COVID kicked in, and which it gave me a good outlet while we were in quarantine. I was researching, I was buying a whole lot of books because I couldn't go to the library. And then I finished it in like November of 2021, and I published it actually on my mother's birthday, January 13th of this year. My mother passed away right at the top of the year, in January 4th,
Mm.
and 9 days later, I published a book.
Mm, that is. So, quick question.
Hmm.
In regards to, I put a challenge out, in regards to the tour of the bean pies. Now that you said that different places are actually making,
Hmm.
so I'm asking what kind of beans are the navy beans? Huh? Because I've never heard of navy beans. So that's one of our
Really?
listeners that asked. I'm
Oh,
asking what kind of beans are the navy. And actually,
you
someone
can go run and flip you. I could show them to you.
yeah, and it's so funny. Someone asked me, what type of beans did she say? Navy.
Navy beans. They're little white beans. They're like the small, small, small ones. I mean, like I can find them. You can find them in the grocery store. You probably just never paid attention because they're in the little bags. There's pinto, there's red, there's black, there's navy.
Yeah. So now,
So they're the smallest ones.
okay. So now, how do you keep this conversation going in regards to um, next generation of bean pies? How do you
Hmm.
continue to keep that going? Through your
Well,
book, that's one way, but
right.
how are you actually helping out with continuing that legacy?
Yeah, I think, being invited to do shows like this is very helpful in continuing that conversation. I speak at schools. My goal is to turn the book into a television series, um, a dramatic, series that retells the story. Um, I think that's a good way of tapping into that, this generation who is so digital. And I'm going to be working on an audiobook soon because everybody's like, "Do you have an audiobook? Do you have an audiobook?" I'm like, "No, not yet." But I'm going to start working on that as well because I love audiobooks. So I know why people want them. And people are back out in the world again, so they're driving and commuting, and so I want to make sure I get that out there. But I just think it comes down to supporting authors like myself who are this is my first book. um
Congratulations,
yeah,
first of all.
thank you, my first book. And I have to also give thanks to New Degree Press, who's my publishing company, because they really taught us how to write our first book like it was our second book, and gave us a lot of support. That I mean, writing a book was always like this huge, like big thing in my mind, and they helped me really break it down. But to answer John, with your original question, or I think it was Dr. Bryant, your original question, how long did it take me? I mean, I really been researching for 10 years.
Mm.
And then because it was so big, I like didn't really know where to start or how to format it, you know. But when I started the book writing course at the top of 2020, I was supposed to publish at the end of 2020, but you know, it was a lot of stuff happening that year.
You have a
Um,
foundation attached to your book.
a foundation? No, I don't. Well, I mean, my husband and I, we have two nonprofits: the Community Academy for Architecture and Design and Tarchitects Foundation for Architecture and Design. So those are two initiatives. I'm also a charter school co-founder. We didn't open a school because of COVID, and we just focused on our architecture firm, but yeah, but not necessarily for the bean pie, but that's a good idea.
Uh, um, let's go back to the conversation around the foundation. Tell us a little bit more about the foundation and the purpose of the foundation, and how has that helped you, um, helped you gain on your journey to develop your book.
I really had to, to put the school down to write the book. I mean, the school was really consuming my life from probably 2014 to 2020. And our school was going to be the first elementary school for architecture in the nation. And it took a pandemic to kind of slow us down, but we're still doing things related to it, still trying to restart our board and our advisory council. We probably won't do a charter school for the next iteration. It will probably be something more independent than the charter school, but we have a full curriculum and we're willing to license it and partner with people and all of that.
So, one thing that you highlighted throughout your journey in your writing
Mhm.
of this book, um, family and generations. And how do you create the generational family?
How do you create the
That,
generation?
how
Mhm.
do you create that generational family that continues to go?
It goes back to what I said earlier about knowing yourself and teaching your children the value of history, and being able to help them document their own history. I try to lead by example. So just my children seeing me get up at 4:30 in the morning consistently to write this book, and then see it, go from all those papers that mama keep carrying around and all those notebooks that mama's carrying around. She
Yeah.
always on her laptop. you know, to seeing it turn into a real physical, you know, creation in my
Hold it up, baby girl.
right,
Hold it
right.
up.
And this is like one of the early copies. It still has
Yes.
it not for resale. This is like my copy that I write in and scribble in, and when I read passages and stuff like that, it's usually from like this one version, this one book. But you know, my 15-year-old daughter is a writer. She's taking writing courses and writing summer programs. So, you know, it's just a I'm just like, come on, I'm pushing her. She's like, oh, when I get in a few years, I'm like, you don't need to wait. What you waiting on? Like, you need to go ahead and write that book and publish that book. And same
Good
with my, you
example.
know, my sons. I'm like, write something, publish something. You know, it'll get better, but it's no reason to wait till you're older. You can
Yes.
do it at 10, 11, 12, 15, 14. You can publish your first book.
You
What's
know,
interesting is, you know, was in church on Sunday, and the pastor said something. Pastor A.R. Bernard said something that's very fitting to what you're talking about. Your passion led to your purpose,
Hmm.
which created your vision,
Hmm.
and it's evident in that book right there.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I love my family, you know.
And you see it in the cover. I love the cover.
Oh,
um,
yeah. I love, yeah.
what one of the things, Miss Abdullah, that we
Hmm.
talked about, what we talk about a lot on the show between the three of us, we talk about generational wealth, right?
Hmm.
And what and legacy, right? And these are the things that we focus a lot on, especially within our Black communities, and what it is that you can do. And the fact that you're asking, you talked about your great grandmother who started the Bean Pie. You wrote a book about it. Now you're asking your children to be authors, be writers themselves, and start begin to publish. How does it feel to know that you are part of that generational wealth, that generational legacy that is so often um, that so often doesn't exist within our communities? And how do you try to push that effort to move forward to the next level?
Right. Well, you know, I mean, it feels good, but I feel behind. I feel that we're still behind the eight ball. We're like 200 years behind economically, you
Hmm.
know, because of enslavement and other, you know, racist ideologies and pathologies. But you know, when you talk about generational wealth, I mean, that's something that's just so important in my family. It's something that my husband and I focus on every single day. Like we have a pinky swear with our three kids that they're all going to architecture school.
Oh,
You know, and we talk to them about that because we're like, look, if you don't continue this business, you're starting from square one again. So that means that the 20, 30, 40, 50, probably 60 years that, you know, my husband and I would have put into this business will go away. I know architects who have successful businesses but never had children. So their legacy will die with them unless they have a foundation and, you know, they do all of that. But you know, so that generational wealth is just so foundational to the things that I do in my life and the things that make me tick. And empire building is real for us, you know, and there's different things that we're doing to make sure that that happens as best we can. You know, of course, pandemics can sometimes impact those things and wars and global warming. But without the village, you know, none of us are going to survive.
that's right. That is so true. And the fact that you speak to your children, you speak to them and remind them that if you do not continue this legacy, that'll be the end. All that hard work will go for waste.
Hmm.
So when we started off, John mentioned that we need to go back to history, looking at history in order to see where we're going. And
Hmm.
that's what you're doing with your book. So we thank you again. How can people find and purchase this book? How can they
Sure.
reach you?
Sure, sure. Well, I'm easy. You can find me on Instagram at Tiffany Green Abdullah. I also have another IG page, The Bean Pie Book. I have my websites, tiffanygreenabdullah.com, as well as thebeanpie.com. You can buy the book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target. If you have a local bookstore that wants to, sell it, you just let me know. I have a Library of Congress number, so I'm always looking for libraries who want to
Repeat
purchase my
everything
book.
again, because I know a couple of people. The Bean Pie.
Thebeanpie.com.
What else?
TiffanyGreenAbdullah.com. That's more my consulting website,
Okay.
and speaking engagements, as well as on Instagram, Tiffany
I want
Green.
to taste the bean pie. Forget that. I want to try the bean pie. So how can we purchase some bean pie?
So you can purchase them right now if you're in Atlanta, because I'm getting to
Atlanta.
so I mean I can't really ship
We're in New York now. Let's go.
them in New York. So I could come to New York and make y'all some, but I got to make them in a
What about
commercial kitchen. So I can't ship them until I start making them in a commercial kitchen. Right now, I'm still making them in my house.
Well, there's a place that you wait. There's a place in New York that you can actually go. There's 2 or 3 places in New York that you can actually go, and there's commercial kitchen. So whenever you're in town, please do not hesitate to stop by and reach out to us. I have just a place because we are excited to taste your version, your family version of the bean pie. So let's do it. Remember the pie tour. Let's do it.
Yes, my son has been itching to come to New York too.
Also, before going, Tiffany, I just want to remind people how they can get your book. I heard you talking about how to get to you, but how do they get to the book?
Yes, the book is on Amazon. The Bean Pie. If you just put in the Bean Pie, a remembering, or my name, because I think I'm the only Tiffany Green Abdullah I've ever found. It's not hard. I mean, in the cover's very unique. It's got my bean pie I made.
ULL or 1 L?
Abdullah, 2 L's.
2 L's.
ABD, Apple Bob David. ULLAH.
And just for the record, Tiffany, I had a Tiffany Green as a student and a friend as a Tiffany Green. So
really, yeah, there's a lot of
part.
Tiffany Green. There's a lot of Tiffany Green, but not a lot of Tiffany Green Abdullah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we look forward to tasting your bean pie. Thank you so much for coming on, listeners and readers, and thank you for sharing the fact that we can all come together, no matter the faith, no matter the denomination, because we come together under one umbrella, and that's the village. So thank you for joining our village this evening.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And we're waiting on our bean pie, okay?
I got you.
I'm waiting for you to come to New York to make the bean pie.
Yeah.
When I start making them in a commercial kitchen very, very soon, I just got my ServSafe certificate, so I can go to commercial kitchens now. I'll be sending you a bean pie.
All right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our special guest for this evening, Tiffany Green on the bean pie. I love the history, just the remembrance of where we've come from.
The struggle.
From the South to the North, and then how it came about. Very interesting. Look at Roderick showing off. Thank you for the tour. What time is it over there right now?
2 hours.
It's actually 5 o'clock. It's 5:10.
5 o'clock, yeah.
3 hours or 2 hours?
Yeah, 3 hours. It's 3 hours because we're right directly on the West Coast.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your view.
I'm good. When I go inside, I'm actually going to show you guys one of the meets. If I know how to spin the camera around, to show you one of the
So
meets.
how
that's
many
happening.
Jamaicans from New York is down there with you?
I didn't hear you. Say it again.
How many Jamaicans from New York?
Your boy Teddy Bailey down there with you?
Yeah, Teddy Bailey is here, but I haven't seen him yet. He is down here. Oh, but look all the Jamaicans. Look. Ready?
Oh, with their flag.
Yeah,
covering.
yes. Jamaicans are like roaches. You see them everywhere you go. And
Well,
right?
It's not only Jamaican. It's just West Indian people. We're all over. We're worldwide like you, Rob.
And don't take no credit for what the Jamaicans do by saying it's West Indian people. No, Jamaicans are like roaches. Not other West Indian countries, just Jamaicans.
Oh,
We
God.
go everywhere. Other West Indian countries.
Moving
don't
right
go everywhere.
along.
right?
Keep peace over love. Did you all see the issue with the bodega store owner? That was insane.
So
I
why you say that?
I don't think it was insane. I think that he should have never been charged, especially since he was attacked. And he, the young lady
Okay.
should have been
So
charged.
he was not attacked.
He was. He was stabbed by the young lady. He was.
That did not come out in the initial onset.
Ah, yeah, but he was stabbed. He was stabbed. His actual cut was infected, and he was charged. I'm never happy with somebody dying or getting murdered, but the young man should have never stepped behind the gentleman. For what reason? Why? He's got no business defending his girlfriend, defending her over what? Stupidity? And you lose your life over what?
I tell people all the time, most violence among men happen with women. Everybody hates
Oh
when I say
God! You know what?
What?
You know what?
What?
No, I
What?
disagree.
What?
Why?
What?
Why do you have to talk your garbage on air?
You can say whatever
Oh,
garbage you
oh,
want.
oh! Yeah, and we don't want
The
to.
man
No.
the man wants to defend the honor of his woman,
No.
goes out, do something stupid,
Oh God.
and gets hurt, and the woman stood there and watched it
Ladies
while
and
another man
gentlemen,
get
do
the
you
woman.
agree with this or not?
All right, go ahead.
I disagree.
Let's ask. Let's ask. Oh, what would you say to my woman? Or some guy's trying to talk to your woman, you get mad. All right? What did the guy do? The guy came in there to defend the honor of his woman, and he got killed.
And
And
Roderick, hold on. You are correct at that point. Yes. The question is, we don't know what the woman said to her boyfriend, so he can go there and engage with the gentleman behind the counter. We don't know what was said to ignite that, and that's one thing. That one thing that's very interesting to me. What was said to him that ignited him like that? All right. Second of all, what he should have done, this is why you got to pause for a second before you act on emotions and just say, hey, what transpired here? What's going on? Everybody's in a rush and you're like, what happened? What happened? To go directly behind and push the gentleman like that, he just created, he just, basically he was the aggressor in this whole thing. And at that point in time, this man had every right to defend himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to know what ignited. What did the woman say to him that ignited him to be in such an outrage to go behind that counter in the store owner's domain, because she doesn't know what the store owner had. He could have had a gun, whatever it was. To step behind that counter, you're in their space.
Mm-hmm.
You're in their space. You gave him
Not only are you in their space, but you're also putting your life in jeopardy as well. I mean, I've seen this. I know, Joanne. I've
seen this countless times. But sometimes
you
come home, you go get your father for an incident, and the father comes in without assessing everything and engaging, and someone winds up dead. This is why everybody knows, before you from road rage to everything, before you engage, take a moment to assess the situation before you engage, especially if you're being called in. If it happens there in real time and you have to react, it's one thing. But where time has elapsed, you need to go, you need to find out what's going on before you jump into that warrior mode. That's all I'm saying. But I had a very interesting call with a friend of mine who talked about Bragg and D.A. Bragg and the way D.A. Bragg just succumbs to pressure. The way he came in and he's not pursuing the Donald Trump investigation vigorously like those who think he should be pursuing it vigilantly.
Could it be because so many people quit?
No, because when new DAs come in, people quit. My point, and I told him I'd rather have a district attorney who looks at all the facts
Mhm.
and is not has the temerity, has the spine not to succumb to public pressure and public outrage. You have to make a
That's a
decision,
very good point.
see it, and the facts are. Everybody makes this to the point that, he let this bodega, he shouldn't have indicted it. No, he shouldn't have been arrested. First of all, you have a person who's dead. You have to arrest that individual because he did commit a homicide. But you arrest him, you take him down to the precinct, you bring the DA in, the assistant DA, to determine what all the facts are.
Mhm.
You have to go out there, meet the witnesses, who's witness, who said what. This is how you assess and make that determination. But it made it seem like, he succumbed to the public outcry. The Post and everybody, this guy is a hero. He wasn't the aggressor, yes, but we don't know what transpired. And the DA had to do all of an investigation before he made that determination. But it made it seem like he succumbed to the pressure of the mob. When the district attorney starts to succumb to the pressure of the mob, we are in trouble.
Mm. So you don't think he has a backbone? You think he jumped to conclusion too quickly?
Well, I'm not saying that, but that's what it seems to some folks. That's what it seems.
Especially Fox. Mm-hmm.
That's what it seemed. No, Fox was, yeah, exactly. And that's what it seems. Like it was the public pressure. But no, what he did was he weighed, he looked at all the facts, he had to interview whatever witnesses are necessary, and then boom, a determination was made. But I could tell you, if this happens, but you see how quick this gentleman, they made the determination not to us. If it was one of us, we would have to go through the whole process, and at the end, after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, we're not going to indict you.
So you're thinking race is involved in that effort?
No, I don't think race is enough because this person is a minority.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is, it just shows you how.
I want to wait. I want to show you guys some of the games. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. This is the World Athletic National. So here we go. So this is where I am. So hold on. So they're doing the 800 heat right now. The second heat, second of 6 heats for the 800.
Man, we don't want
the top 3 that literally. And
Why you not on the track?
they just did the javelin.
I just said you should be on the track.
Or as a matter of fact, on a different subject, while we were on here, I just got a notification that there was a fatal shooting in the Bronx. As we're talking about violence in our community, there was a fatal shooting of a teenager in the Bronx. We don't have all of the details yet, ladies and gentlemen, but it just happened like within the last 10-15 minutes. So as we talk about violence in the instant war, summer violence, and where that's going and how it's highlighted. So I just thought I'd bring that to the
Summer violence and also our young people dying. Sensitive death. For what reason? The young man who said that lived in Jersey and went back to go and say goodbye to his friend who got murdered or shot in his head. For what reason? It is ridiculous. And then where is the uproar from our community? That's the part that I'm annoyed about. As passionate as we were when we were fighting against police brutality, we need the same uproar against our young people getting murdered. Can you stop eating on air? So,
I was waiting for you to say something before.
no, it was annoying me for a while. I did text you and tell you to stop eating.
I was just waiting for you. I was just waiting for you.
Nobody want to see you eat, okay? Anyway.
Hurry.
Going back to my I just need people to be as passionate as they are about everything else, the same way about these young people getting killed. You know,
And you know why, Joanne? You know why? Black lives don't matter. It don't matter. It only matters when it's a police shooting,
right.
right? Black lives don't matter. So I don't even think I can support the Black Lives Matter movement anymore because our young black men and women are, and again, it's a teenager that was fatally shot,
Right.
right? I don't hear no marching, getting ready to march. Imagine if the police had killed a teenager. All of a sudden, it's a big deal. When does listen? A life is a life.
Right.
Period. No
Right.
if and buts are supposed.
Right. Like, for example, how we are outraged about the family accusing Sesame Place of racism in Pennsylvania. You have celebrities talking out. You have this person talking out. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. I need that same energy for the kids getting shot up, walking in the street, going to a bodega, saying goodbye to their friends. That same energy needs to be there. And that's not being done. When it comes to racism, we're up in arms. But what about us? We're killing each other, but we're silent. So that same energy needs to be across the board.
I 100% agree with that.
Now, I'm not. What happened to the two little girls who were excited about seeing their favorite Sesame Street character in person is great, but the total, ignoring the little girls as they put out their hands to say, hey, me, you want to touch or whatever. They're excited, but just to completely disregard them, that's heartbreaking. That is
It is
heartbreaking.
heartbreaking because I can bet you not one of those characters will fucking know.
Of course not. And that's not the first time. So another parent came up and stated the same thing happened by the same character on, to their child. And they had a video of it as well. They said they didn't have a video about it, but it happened. And, what's interesting is
I think that when I make a statement, I'm not belittling any instance of violence or racism.
so it is correct when you do make a statement. They did hire an attorney and they apologized and everything, but to say we're going to investigate or to look in, no, fire that individual. That's not the first time. That's not the second time. And like you mentioned, John, more than likely it's not a minority person that's underneath.
So you know what? But you know what? Why are we jumping to fire the person? Let's see what goes on. There might be more to it. It might have just happened. It might have been they've just been innocent.
I'm not
You know
saying
what I'm
that
saying?
one innocent, but it's more than one.
Yeah,
One
it's more
time.
than one.
Okay.
It could be. This is the problem what we have with the woke thing. If you don't agree with my ideology or what I believe in, you're ready to cut them off. So you ready? I mean, let's just this. It is. We see what it is. Let's dig into it a little deeper. If this thing persists, and at that point in time, then then we react. But sometimes we just jump and we want to, what we want to do is get rid of everybody, terminate them quickly, without really any due process.
You're right.
See what's going on. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to jump to conclusion. It's like the best. I think a perfect example was. I don't think I remember. I think my church I heard this. It's your perception of what you perceive.
That's true.
You just saw this man get on the train.
Yes, Pastor
Man,
Bernard.
Pastor
Mhm.
Bernard. You saw this man get on the train with his kids,
Mhm.
and his kids was acting wild, running all over the place, just running all over the place. And people are getting annoyed and upset. why is this man, being irresponsible, let his kids run over the place? Then someone walks up to you and says, sir, could you mind your children, whatever it is? He says, you're correct, but I'm having a hard time trying to talk to them because their mother just died.
To
You know what I'm
explain
saying?
to them.
To explain to them that their mother just died.
Mhm.
So villagers, before we jump in action, let's find out what's going on. Just like what happened to this young man who got killed by the bodega worker because he jumped in action without assessing the entire situation because he reacted to what his girlfriend said. You know what I'm saying? So this teaches us a lesson. Sometimes we got to pause for a second, think before we react. Same thing, brothers and sisters, when it comes to the police, our police encounters. Whatever they tell you to do, follow it. Because it's very important that all the complaining and all the uproar, all the protesting that you want to do, we want to make sure that person is a part of the protest and involved in reforming and correcting that. We're not going to that person's funeral.
That's true. That is true.
Thank you for agreeing with me, Dr. Brian, for once.
Yeah, I have to step back. You're right.
And you see, you were ready to, but sometimes you got to step back and say, yo, let me
Slow
just see.
down,
Slow down.
you little bugger. All right.
Slow down.
Well,
January 6th. What's up? Oh, we're missing that tonight.
no,
We're
that
in the
was
studio.
earlier today.
No, January 6th, prime time tonight, 8 o'clock.
Ah.
This is the final hearing regarding January 6th, insurrection
Mm.
by former President Trump and his crew. But villagers, I'm going to tell you this.
Mhm.
Who the hell cares?
What?
I've been saying that. Who the hell cares?
How have I been saying that?
Andre and myself, we've been saying that. People are so enamored with former President Trump. I don't give one hoot about this January 6th stuff.
What's gonna happen? at the end?
I want, my condolences to go to those who passed away
Mhm.
during this insurrection.
Mhm.
But at the same time, they made it so political that it lost its steam. Because at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. The American people, gas has come down.
Exactly.
Gas has come down, but they still have inflation at skyrocket numbers.
Mhm.
People are worried. Mortgage rates have increased. Still the issue with student loans. They need to get rid of student loans already. Stop
I agree.
putzing around with it and delaying it already. This
I
is
agree.
why it's unfortunate that there may be a Republican tsunami come this November. Our President Biden's approval ratings are 36%.
Mhm.
That's not looking good. But can he resurrect? Yes, he can resurrect. But when it comes down to the policies, and everybody was concerned about the abortion issue,
Mhm.
but Donald Trump told us all what he was going to do, and we chose to stay home and allow him to take office instead of going out there and supporting Hillary Clinton. He said what he was going to do, and he has done it, and I respect it because he told us. He told us what the conclusion of his book was going to be, but we did not go out there and change it, and we could have changed it by being more involved in the electoral process. Now we're looking at a tsunami, and let me tell you something. Once those Republicans, if they get the House and they control the Senate, you talk about the insurrection hearings. There are going to be so many hearings into Biden Hunter and what's on his laptop. There are going to be so many hearings that our heads going to spin. But they're going to do the same thing the Democrats did. Get enamored with this stuff and lose the presidency.
So what about the text messages that was deleted? Do you think that was done intentionally?
You know what? You know what? I'm not sure, but you know, when you're the Secret Service and you ask for certain documentations, if that was one of us, it would have been obstruction of justice, and we'd have been locked up
Mhm.
and prosecuted. You know, it's unfair. So let's see what the Attorney
Different
General
rules for
Garland
different
does. It's
folks.
always different rules for different folks.
Mhm.
You know, but you know what's so funny? Villagers, you know, all those people who become lawyers, all those people who become our representatives, all those people who are judges, we're the ones who put them in office. All politics is local. Always remember that. All politics is local.
Are you saying we shouldn't be focusing so heavily on the federal?
We should
It
be.
starts.
It starts
local.
at the local elections.
Mhm.
Being more involved. Because at the end of the day, whatever goes on with the federal government, we're going to be able to live through it like we've always been living through it. But it's what happens on those local governments that really impact our communities on a day-to-day basis.
Well, here it is. We had a president, a former president, who never ran for anything political, but he became the president of the United
Because
States.
people are tired of the Democratic bullcrap. Democrats have taken black and brown people for granted for decades.
You know what? I had conversation with some of my friends who mentioned that, this is the last time I'm voting Democratic. So we have a lot of people who turn away from the party overall. They're like, we're not doing it no more. They're disappointed. So, unfortunately, c'est la vie.
C'est la vie, and the Republicans are back, and I got to listen to that damn Jim Jordan, who I think is a racist. You know, listen to all these other cats who had the audacity to ask for pardons
Mhm.
because of their involvement in this
January 6th, right?
insurrection.
Mm.
It's just amazing. The hypocrisy. The Republicans are the king and queens of hypocrisy.
But guess what?
What?
Home prices are still going up. Rents are ridiculously
You know,
high.
home prices are coming down a little bit. You know why? Because everybody got interest rate.
Let me tell
It's
you,
no longer a seller's market. It's becoming a buyer's market slowly.
slowly.
Slowly. Slowly
Listening
but
to
surely.
the price that they're charging rent in Jersey and also part of Manhattan last year, it was, during COVID, it was like dirt cheap. Everybody was leaving, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then now, triple the price. One lady said, yeah, my rent went up $2,500 more
That's being greedy.
in 1 year.
Yeah, it's a non-regulated apartment. That's why.
So, co-ops.
But it's those tenants who took advantage of those small landlords and the whole thing. They were working and getting the stimulus money and they wouldn't pay their rent.
So my problem with that is, how come?
They ain't pay the rent.
But there was no tracking, like similar to the loans that they gave out. So all these people, the PPE loans and this loan and that loan and rent discount, and they're paying this and they're paying that. Who was doing accountability? Where is the track records?
Waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what they talk about.
And then at the end of the day, guess what?
What?
Middle class people have to pay back for
That's
that.
right. My taxes increased.
We should go. Well, the former president had changed the whole calculation and everything. Should we go back to how it was prior to his?
Hell no.
Why
I
not?
like what Trump did with the taxes.
Why?
Democrats always try to tax your way out of everything. You can't tax your way out of everything.
I see. I don't know. What do you think, Andre? But the problem now is too many people are leaving New York. The great exodus out of New York.
Exodus is a movement of Ja people. And you have to move out of New York.
We can't
because
afford it.
You can't afford it. I can't even afford to buy a soda pop these days. I went to buy a seltzer water today. Guy charged me $2.25. I used to pay $1 for a 16-ounce bottle of seltzer. Now it's $2.25 for a little thin can of coconut water. Thin can, 8 ounces. Guy charged me $3. I'd rather go get the fresh coconut water from the coconut.
You know, I don't know. If we thought we had a problem before with homelessness, if we thought we had a problem before with just overall just inflation and people not paying rent, we're gonna have a bigger problem.
Why you say that, Doc? What bigger problem you gonna have?
Because the price of everything went up. And people cannot continue to pay at the amount that everything's going up. You go to Popeyes, they charge ridiculous amount of money. Now, for the same chicken tenders, you're paying $17.
So you know what you do? You go to Costco, you go to BJ's, go get some chicken.
But everything, no.
Pick it up, slice it up.
BJ's, oh, well, I don't care about Popeyes. But BJ's have gone up too. Everything
You're right,
has
Big
gone
Mo.
up.
I know, Big Mo. That's why you said you're moving. You're moving. You're going south, Big Mo. Getting that condo on the beach. Count me in, Big Mo. We're gonna come party.
Yeah, a lot of people are moving to the South.
Yeah.
But the problem is with the South, you deal with another form of racism too. You're dealing, which
I don't know about this. There's a migration of people us going back to the South. That's why Georgia did what Georgia did.
So here it is. A lot of people moving to Florida thinking, hey, it's going to be easier in Florida. And then you have a crazy governor.
Yeah, I won't go to Florida with that cat there, man. I mean, that cat may be running for president. In that instance, I'd rather Donald Trump run than him because DeSantis might win. And he is worse than Donald Trump, y'all. He's a subtle Donald Trump.
Hey, at least he run for politics throughout his life.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Joe, be careful what we ask for. We know the devil we have, but you don't know the devil that's coming in.
Wait. You're going to vote for Trump if he runs again?
Oh, against DeSantis. If it's between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, I will vote for Donald Trump, not Ron DeSantis, because I know Donald Trump will lose in that general election. But Ron DeSantis, I'm not sure. Ron DeSantis scares me because he's a milder Donald Trump, and there's people who understand it. Donald Trump, that former President Trump, has a following that's unbelievable, and these guys are relentless. They go out there and vote. I hope we have the same vim and vigor that we have. But if we get our clocks clean this November, oh my gosh. I can see these people become chairs and that whatever it is, that Gates guy from Florida. I can't wait till they get his behind. Then you got the other woman, Green from North, whatever that woman's Green.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think New York is going to become so expensive. It may just become a state for only the rich.
That, you know what? I don't believe that.
I believe
We've
that.
been saying, you know how long we've been saying that?
How long?
We've been saying that. We've been saying that for decades. That New York State's going to become a place that's only the rich. We still here. We still here. We still here. I'm not rich. I'm still here. So that's what I'm saying,
Oh my goodness. But no. The wages aren't going up. You're right. Wages are not going up, but everything else is going up. It's crazy expensive.
It is crazy expensive in New York City, but you know what? We control the purse strings. And if we choose to spend our money, that's us.
Yeah, you are rich, sir. Did you see that?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I am truly rich. I'm rich in spirit. Rich in spirit.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Renaissance man is back.
Yeah, I guess where I'm sitting in the stadium because I'm not rich like John and Joanne. I'm in the nosebleed seat, so it's hard to get reception.
Yeah, we should see the person sitting behind you with your legs open.
But did you tell them that you own the stadium? You didn't tell them that, did you?
No, we didn't have that conversation.
All right then, okay.
All right, hold on. I have to learn to start telling people about um, where where I am where I'm from, what my policies. Look, I'm just getting these terrible news. A man just got shot in Harlem. I mean, at Crown Heights. I don't know what's going on. What's going on, Joanne? John, what's going on with your mayor?
With my mayor,
The mayor's
John's
going.
mayor. John's mayor.
I tell every villagers, please understand this. We have additional officers in the beat. We're concentrating in those areas that are high proliferation of crime. We're creating this task force to work together with other members and find out these guns and be able to stop these guns from being sold in our community. So, the mayor's doing all he can to put in place, but we have to do our part. We must do our part. He's doing his part, we have to do our part, and we need to police ourselves better. We need to let them know this is not going on. This is not happening in our community. Some of the OGs who have just come home and doing 30 or 40 years in prison saying these younger kids are out of control. There is no ethics when it comes to crime in the community. Things that we would never shoot up in broad daylight, never shoot at a parent, never had anything involved with kids. Just like these old people out because they have no sense of respect for one another. That's what it's all about.
when do you think that I think a couple years ago we had a when do you think that switched?
Okay, honestly, that's knocking heads. We need to knock heads in the street. We need to knock heads in the street. Everybody talks about they don't want to bring back the anti-crime unit. Anti-crime unit should come back because these cats have no fear. They walk out the street with a burner. They have no fear.
No ethics, no fear, no respect.
None whatsoever. Before, you were afraid to. If you had a little gun, you were afraid.
John.
The police officers may run up on you.
It's not. I'm going to add one more. No responsibility. You have to add responsibility in there. They're not responsible for anything. They're reckless, with straight reckless abandonment in terms of life and their life, others' life. I mean, I was in a conversation the other day. I wasn't in the conversation. I would say that I overheard the conversation.
You mean you were ear hustling?
No, I was
Ear
someplace
hustling.
where, right? No.
Ear hustling.
No, not at all. It's like all of us are in this room talking in a conversation. When one person said something to me, not to me, but to the groups, and he said, "Young man, I don't think he's even 40 yet." And his statement was, "Man, I don't care about dying." And this is out of an argument that he's having, not that he was sick or saying that his life had purpose. It's like he was arguing with somebody and said, "I don't care about dying." That tells me something, one, right off the bat, John. This person and I will never hang out in public. Ever. Because you clearly don't care to put my life in danger.
But he don't realize his life has a purpose or the value
Exactly.
or the reason why he's here. People,
But he's also 40 years old.
yeah, but that don't mean nothing. You have 60-year-old individuals who don't know why they're here on Earth. There is a reason why you're here. There is something you're contributing. There is a greater purpose than just you surviving day by day, eating, going to sleep, working. No, there is something greater in store. You are on Earth because there's one of you, but there is something that you're contributing to the overall population. And that's what people, if you don't understand your purpose, then you don't understand why you're here. And that's why you take it for granted. That's the thing.
Let me say something, Roger. That person's full of crap. You know why they're full of crap? Because when it comes to them dying, when you're about ready to die, you're like, oh my God, Lord, don't take me right now. Lord, I'm not ready to go. They're not ready to die, Roger. They're not ready to. They can talk a good game because they know. But when death is knocking at the door, you're not saying, I don't care if I'm going to die. No, you're going to ask God or whatever higher power you have to give you the doctor, save me.
I agree with all of that, John. You're 100% correct with that statement. 100% correct. The reality, though, is getting to that point, right? Right? Getting to that point is where the problem lies, right? You understand what I'm saying? Getting to that point is the problem. And so, for me, why does it get to that moment when your life cannot be saved, when you could have saved your life, when you could have taken a better care of your life and your understanding, right? You get that's what I'm saying. Because now at the point, you have a gunshot wound or a bullet wound or a stab wound because of reckless behavior, asking God to spare you and tell you to change, it's not going to happen at that moment, right? Right? So those are some serious conversations that need to be had.
And it lies back to spirituality.
Right.
Understanding your purpose. Understanding, like Tiffany said, who you are. Getting to know who you are. Many people don't know who they are. You could be 80 years old and you still don't know who the hell you are. But once you understand your purpose and you value and understand who you are, then you will value life more. And unfortunately,
I agree.
a lot of people don't understand their purpose. They don't understand who they are. And then they take other people's life as insignificant.
Yep.
And that's where we kill our legacy. So,
Brian, that was a very profound statement.
merci.
What you just say?
Don't rien, man. Don't rien. Don't see.
Dorian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your little French for the day, John.
Oui.
We.
So we have work to do, ladies and gentlemen. We have work to do. We have to really educate not only young folks, but adults as well about our purpose and who we are. We have to actually stand up. We have to try to, you know what? I have to say, de Blasio started the crime unit, the stop the violence unit. I don't know if it started before him, but he put some in place. I know that Mayor Adams actually expanded some of that violence interrupters, which they're doing their part. But it takes much more. It takes the community. It takes creating block associations. It takes fraternities and sororities getting back active. It takes, pastors coming out of their church and standing up. And I give credit to the
God Squad.
yes, sir, God Squad, 100%. It takes so much more than just one person. You can't put everything on one individual. It takes many hands to change something. And to be able to walk in the street and not get raped. Because you got fools around nowadays thinking that they could do whatever. Running behind on scooters or motorcycles, raping people and pulling down people. No, he deserves a punch in the face. This is where we go back. I'm sorry. Yes, I advocate violence on this end. But we need, and this is where our Muslim, our Islam brothers and sisters interacted and interjected. And some of the other organizations we had walking around were much more active. So we need to get more active. It takes many different hands to actually change the trajectory that we're going. And we can't rely on just one individual to do it.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Georgia. I want to go back to what our shows, right? We're dedicated to empowering the community, right? To have a healthy, safe, right? Healthy, safe, right? And so it requires the village, right? It required our villagers out there to go back and reflect on what needs to happen in order to improve quality of life. Right? We need to work together, live together, bond together, and do things that
Amen.
affect us in all ways.
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm looking forward to next week hearing something positive instead of, like you mentioned, Roger, hearing two or three murders at the same time while we're on air. I'm tired of talking about young people getting killed during summertime where they should be enjoying that break, reflecting, spending time with family, but instead families are going out burying their kids. You know, this has to stop, ladies and gentlemen. And we, you know, when you're silent, you're complacent. When you're silent and you don't do anything, that means you agree with some of the things. I understand you might be afraid, but guess what? Stand up for something and do something about it. If it's talking, if it's pulling, you see one of your young people on the block or whatever. I know you might be afraid, they might be packing or whatever. But guess what? If you don't interrupt what's happening, then you are part of the problem. Sorry.
Sometimes your approach. That's all it is. Sometimes it's just your approach.
Yeah,
We have to be willing to approach those situations.
yeah. Because I'm tired of going to funerals.
And you're right. Bring back that unit. I agree. We need that oversight in our communities. It's unfortunate until we can be able to better handle ourselves.
That's
So, Mr. Daly, I see you having a great time out there.
Yeah,
We wish you all the best.
yeah.
When you coming back? I hope not no time soon. Yes.
What? I gotta give an early shout out to my dad and my daughter, whose birthday's on Monday, and also my pastor who's celebrating his birthday today, Pastor Early.
I'm coming back on Sunday.
Well, have fun.
Welcome back. Welcome back on Sunday. But happy birthday, Dr. Brian, to your father and your daughter.
Pastor Early, who was on the
Pastor.
show.
Hey, Pastor. Yes, Pastor.
He was on
As
the
we
show.
say, happy born dates.
Yes. And if you're celebrating out there, happy birthday to you. And I pray that you get to celebrate another year. Enjoy it. No
And be
more
careful with this heat wave because this heat wave is supposed to last until I think Sunday.
Monday. Yeah, check up on the elderlies. Make sure you stay hydrated because guess what? We don't want to hear stroke. And stay out of the beach. Stay out of the water. You can go to the beach, but sharks are real, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real thing.
It's just amazing, how
You used to watch it on the show, right?
Yeah.
And to see it jump out the water in Far Rockaway Beach, I'm like, oh.
Only thing I keep hearing that movie, that
Jar?
Jaws.
So I don't know.
And it's amazing. What they say is like the way the sharks hunt. The sharks just they don't look for human interaction with humans. It's just like the humans are just in a way of cool of their prey. They just get swept up.
And look, the heat. Some of the places is so hot that it's called they're calling an entire emergency all over.
Mm-hmm.
Some places. So I pray that the heat wave ends on Monday. The 90-degree temperature ends on Monday. For those who don't have AC and who are dealing with the heat, please stay hydrated. And even the AC don't work half of the time with 99.
Go to the beach.
Don't listen to this clown.
Go to the beach. That's where you need to go. Go to the beach. and pool.
You could go to the pool.
Right. And Don't listen to the fearmonger over there who's gonna say don't go to the pool because of the chlorine.
I said go to the pool, and this clown said don't listen
All
to
right,
your.
go to the beach.
Oh my God.
Enjoy.
It's all good,
Nothing
Roger.
but love between those two villages. Nothing but love.
You know, he is a clown. But enjoy your time
Right.
out there.
You know, I was saying earlier though, in a serious note, that we have to give God thanks, right? We still have to give God thanks. John, Joanna, myself, and I, we're all still here.
Yes.
You know, still trying to educate the village, try to educate everyone, try to have everyone know that their life is important, right? To live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life, right?
Legacy.
And so we just, John, Joanna, and we can only do Andre, Sophia. We can only keep doing what it is that we're doing, right? To try to help people along. In spite of and despite of, we continue the work that's needed to make sure that the village stays alive and vibrant.
Yeah. You're so right. And you know what? Legacies are important. Remember what you're putting out there, generations are following. So create something that people remember. Create leaders. You know, if you kill off each other, there's no more legacy. So let's continue to create and educate our young
Bad
people.
man.
Thank you
Yeah.
for joining
Hey,
us.
Joanne, how does it feel to be in the studio today?
It was interesting.
Hey, Joanne.
Interesting. It was interesting. I need some more AC on this side of
You should
town.
do it more often.
No, it's okay. You know, just because you're
Wait,
not
say it
here,
again.
I need some more AC on this side of town. But I'm only holding the chair
all right.
for you while you're out of town. But you'll be back on Sunday, so
We're back on Sunday, ready to be back in the studio on Thursday. So
yeah.
you know what, Roderick, you and the family have a great time.
Yes,
Enjoy.
and
Bless
you'll
up.
hold the seat again.
Yes, she will.
Bless up, everyone.
you.
Have a great night. Thank you for joining us. God bless and have a great
We
weekend.
just want to take this opportunity to thank
Bye-bye.
you at the village.
Yeah.
Success. What is success, Dr. Brian?
It's not just spoken, it is done. And be safe. Bye bye, Alice.
Good night, everyone.